I'm Jerry, and welcome back to Marshall Gold Discovery State Historic Park here in Coloma, California. Today we are here at the Native American grinding rock, or the Chaw'se. This rock was used for hundreds, if not thousands of years by generations of Nisenan who lived in this valley. In fact, the name of our town, Coloma, comes from a Nisenan word meaning beautiful valley. Now, the Nisenan drew their strength and nourishment from the plants and animals found here, and their very survival depended on how well they managed these resources. They would move around following seasonal plants and game. Generally, they would have lived in this valley for 3 or 4 months out of the year, when particular plants were in season. Being good stewards of the land, before they depleted a food source in any one area, they would move on to another camp. This allowed nature to regenerate and restore itself so that food sources would continue to be available when the families returned the following year. So what types of foods did these people eat? The first thing that comes to my mind are meat sources such as fish and wild game. But their diet also consisted of a lot of plant-based items such as berries, seasonal greens, nuts and seeds, as well as tubers and roots, which are plants who eat the root or the portion that grows underground, such as potatoes, carrots, and beets. Now, of course, the Nisenan didn't have potatoes, carrots, or beets, but they ate the roots and tubers of wild plants and flowers that provided similar nutritional benefits. One of the most important staples of the Nisenan diet was the acorn, which comes from oak trees such as the tree behind me, that were very plentiful in this valley. The Nisenan would gather the acorns in the fall and store them in a granary fashioned out of grapevines or willow branches and cedar. Each family would have their own granary or Chakka. An acorn crop was generally stored for up to a year to allow the nuts to dry out for use the next season. The Chakka was lined with cedar branches to prevent insects from destroying the crop and capped with cedar bark and hides to keep the rain out and prevent mold. Acorns such as these are not like other nuts that you can just crack open and eat. The acorn nut is full of bitter-tasting tannins that can be harmful to humans if eaten in large enough quantity. But acorns are also a very nutritious food, supplying protein, carbohydrates, fiber, vitamins A and E, and iron. So the Native Americans devised a way to process the nuts to remove the tannins and enjoy the other nutritional benefits. And that's where this grinding rock comes in. But instead of me trying to describe a process that I have never witnessed, I am going to refer to the diary of a miner named John Doble, who stumbled across a group of women working at a grinding rock in 1852. The women were all seated flat on the ledge of rock, and each had between her legs and in a small round hole in the rock a small pile of acorns on which they were pounding with an oval-shaped stone about 8 inches long. The acorns, after being hulled, are thus ground to a fine meal. It is then taken to their fires, which are generally built on a flat place near water, where they scoop a hole in the ground of a circular form about 3 inches deep, and into this hole put the meal, spreading it over the bottom about 2 inches deep. They then take from the fire small stones which have been heating and plunge them into a basket of water at hand until it is boiling. They then pour the water on the meal in the hole until the hole is full. This sets the meal all afloat. The flour of the acorn then settles to the bottom, while the husk or reddish covering which is next to the shell settles on the top. When the water has all settled into the earth, leaving the acorn meal in the hole, they then, with their hands, scrape off the top, which is of a reddish color, and throw it in another basket, and thin it with boiling water into a thick soup. This leaves in the hole a layer of beautifully white-looking meal. This they scrape out as near the bottom as they can without getting any of the dirt with it, and form into oblong cakes of about a pound each. They then scrape out the bottom of the hole, which is generally half dirt, and make it into a soup like the top, only thinner, so the dirt settles to the bottom. Today we have learned that the Native Americans drew their nourishment from the plants in the area, including acorns, which were a staple food. The Nisenan would gather the acorns and store them in a Chakka. When ready to use them, they would shell the acorn and grind the nut at the Chaw'se, where the woman would work, talk, tell stories, and sing to the rhythm of pounding acorns. They would then leach the flour and cook it either to make a soup, mush, or some sort of bread. I hope you've enjoyed this glimpse of Nisenan life in the Coloma Valley. Check back soon for more stories from the past.